Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream on this cold, partially wet October evening. Thank you for joining me. Tonight, we are going to continue to discuss the controversial trans charity Mermaids. That's now quite engulfed in a scandal, as well as still under investigation. The crisis hit charity has been all over the news, social media recently, and not in a good way. I know we've talked about mermaids in the last couple of streams, but there's so much to talk about. There's so many developments. So I thought we'd continue because I think it's important to bring out and expose what this charity is about and what they've been doing. If you don't know who Mermaids are, they are an extremely controversial charity that allegedly helps and supports trans kids and their families up to the age of 20, although I don't recommend that if you are a parent or you're a child and you're confused about your gender, I don't recommend that you actually contact this organization. I don't think, I wouldn't recommend that you use contact phone or use any of their services at all. Mermaids have become a leading proponents of extreme gender ideology in the United Kingdom, and as I say, this controversial charity, this ghastly charity, is now engulfed in a scandal, as you can probably see in newspapers, you can probably see online, you can probably see on social media. They're being condemned across social media, and recently we discovered Mermaids recently discovered supplying harmful breast flattening devices to girls as young as 13, and this was behind parents' back, without parents' knowledge, without parents' consent, just totally behind the parents' back. This is how Mermaids operate, and it's very, very concerning. There's been many people that have expressed concerns over the years about Mermaids, but it looks as though up until now, when it's all been ignored. I mean, just imagine that your children or your child has been sent a harmful device behind your back, and this is what parents are regularly waking up to from the behavior from Mermaids. So you can see that you can see the why now that they've been regularly condemned on social media. I mean, certainly in the last few years, I've seen a lot of condemnation of Mermaids, and it's great now the newspapers are picking it up. It's great now that the Charities Commission is investigating. This is brilliant. I mean, this organisation, it's not an organisation I'd recommend you send your kids or take any advice from. So as I say, the Charity Commission have launched an investigation and are now actively investigating this concerning charity, and they're investigating this concerning charity over safeguarding concerns and other issues. The compliance case against Mermaids is that they've launched is assessing a range of concerns that have been raised regarding the charity's approach to safeguarding young people, and we're talking about children. The National Lottery themselves they've currently paused this £500,000 grant. Okay, so they're pausing part of that grant now, or they're pausing the grant from now at the moment. And I don't know whether I didn't mention it in previous streams, but Mermaids are they've had a serious data breach, leaking information about vulnerable people. This is one of the things that Mermaids had in the past. I mean, this caused quite a stir at the time, but yeah, this is also something that shouldn't really have happened, because the data breach, the leaked information were really about vulnerable people. It's quite worrying that nothing was done at then. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. So please also bear in mind that it was and it is indeed Mermaids and their ilk that have implemented legal proceedings against the professional registered charity LGB Alliance to attempt to strip LGB Alliance of their charity status. They haven't a cat in hell's chance of winning this case. I've mentioned that on many other cases. They've just got no case against LGB Alliance, but it's the disruption that they're causing to LGB Alliance. This is vast, and in order to protect themselves, they are having to raise nearly £250,000. Which is absolutely disgraceful. It's absolutely disgusting that a charity is now having to stop what they're there to do, an LGBT charity, and then raise £500,000 and put all their energies and all their organization into a court case. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful. This is harassment. I've said this from day one. Mermaids who are a charity themselves should not be allowed to do this. This surely is against the Charities Commission procedures, policies. I'm pretty sure it is. It's something that I will be bringing up with the Charity Commission when LGB Alliance win, which I'm pretty sure they will. If you do want to support LGB Alliance during these difficult times, you can donate on the crowdfunder in the information below. You can share the crowdfunder, to give it the exposure it deserves, really, so that other people can donate and other people can see what's going on. They can see what this ghastly charity Mermaids is actually doing. What a nasty thing, though, for Mermaids to do to a charity. You know what I mean? It's really, really nasty, but it's backfired. We can all see that it's really backfired, and it's so funny watching a charity that thought that they were going to take LGB Alliance to court and win, and now in the spotlight themselves. Just to say that I'm not connected with LGB Alliance in any way, except I've donated money, so I'm not connected to LGB Alliance, but I do support LGB Alliance. I have financially supported LGB Alliance, and I do recommend that you do too. Because they do talk a lot of sense, and they are against all this gender nonsense that's been pushed onto people. So Mermaids are finally getting the public scrutiny that they have long since deserved. And one would say that this has backfired enormously for Mermaids, which is so funny. But yeah, so as I mentioned in the stream before, one of the trustees, a certain Dr. Jacob Breslow, has been exposed as having links to an organisation that offers assistance to paedophiles. Dr. Jacob Breslow has been forced to resign over these disturbing links with paedophilia. So let that sink in. A trustee of a kids charity has links to a paedophilia organization. Let that sink in. I just noticed that Amy's online. Thank you for joining me, Amy. Much appreciated. Tonight we're going to continue with Mermaids, I think. There's so much to talk about Mermaids, so much to expose, so I thought I'd just carry on. I'm not going to do a long one tonight because I haven't got too much to say, so it might go on for about half an hour, maybe a little bit more, but we'll see how half an hour goes and do that. But yeah, thank you for joining me. It's really appreciative. We're talking about Mermaids. I wanted to mention about Dr. Jacob Breslow's blogs as well. Blogs, should I say. He wrote this blog for 8 years, and which was very much in the public domain, which is also as disturbing as you would imagine a paedophile apologist would be. And it also makes you wonder why this disgraceful person was ever allowed to be a trustee of Mermaids. I mean, the information was out there. He'd got the links to this organization. He'd also been putting I've read some of these things on this blog, and it's absolutely disgusting. It's horrifying. But he was a trustee of Mermaids. He was allowed to be a trustee of Mermaids. Why? That's the question I'd like to know, because if he'd have been checked out properly, if he'd have been scrutinised in the recruitment process for recruiting trustees, surely this would have come up. I mean, anybody could see this. So I very much question why this didn't come up in Mermaids. It's not like this information was hidden. This information has been in plain sight for many, many years. Everybody knew this guy was a paedophile apologist, and this paedophile apologist became a trustee for Mermaids. I mean, how can that have been not spotted? You know, I mean, a paedophile apologist working with children, it's very, very worrying. But anyway, yeah, so that's it. That's more information that's bringing this charity down, really. I mean, I personally do not believe that Mermaids scrutinise this Dr. Breslow properly. I really don't believe he was scrutinised properly, and I think that I don't believe that Mermaids actually looked into him. If they did, it was very little, because that information was out there. It's been out there a long, long time. Okay, so over the years, as many organisations, parents, medical professionals, and the general public, including Safe Schools Alliance, Baywater Support Group, Transgender Trend, have repeatedly failed to gain public or government attention about this ghastly organisation, Mermaids. I mean, it's only, as I say, it's only until now that the press are taking the stories, that it's all over social media, that everybody's like, oh, where did this charity come from? But these people have been, and others. I mean, we're talking about a lot of other people, Graham Linehan, for example, the great J.K. Rowling. They've all been trying to point out what Mermaids have been doing. I mean, they've been doing this for years, but at least now it's getting momentum. So Amy says that there is a link 2021 about one of his books I've sent to some people. That's right. He also wrote a book, and the book is apparently quite concerning as well. It's very, very, very concerning about what this Breslow did. I mean, Jacob Breslow is a disgraceful paedophile apologist that should never really have been working for a Mermaids charity. I mean, a charity that works with children. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really. But yeah, so the question that I've got in my mind is another question. Yeah, I mean, why have Mermaids been allowed to continue when safeguarding procedures have been so obviously disregarded, allowing this vile charity full and continued access to vulnerable kiddies? I mean, that's a question that I'd like to know, because everything that they're doing, it's not just one thing now, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Why have this organization been given full access to children for so long? You know what I mean? It's very, very concerning, and it's like I say, that these issues have been brought out for years about this organisation. This isn't something that happened yesterday or the day before. This has been going on for years. It's very very worrying. And why has Mermaids been allowed to, as J.K. Rowling puts it, have unprecedented influence over health policy? It is. I mean, they've been going into schools, they've been going into government bodies, organized, government places. They've been going everywhere, allegedly with their with their training, of gender theory, all over the country. It's very, very concerning what this organization has been allowed to do, and it's just, couldn't the government have stepped in before now? Is it really the people that have got to stand up and say, look, this is it? And we're fighting very hard, really, to expose what Mermaids are. But couldn't the government have stepped in before now? Should the police have stepped in? And should the police step in now? Because bearing in mind that this is not yet a police investigation, for what this vile charity has been doing. I mean, firstly, they're not. They've never looked into them, and they're still not. I find it unbelievable the police haven't been involved before now, but that's it. And why on earth are celebrities, politicians, and others still publicly supporting this disaster charity? I mean, it's all the information's out there now. We've got all this paedophile apologist as a trustee. We've got all these things. The charity's under investigation. The National Lottery have suspended, the grant. We've got something else that came in as well. This is very recent, that an NHS is advising its staff not to signpost or to remove references that support anything to do with the trans charity Mermaids. I'm not sure whether this is a unique thing that's gone across the country, or whether it's just one or two trusts that have actually done this. But now the NHS are getting involved, saying, look, we don't signpost to Mermaids anymore. It's unbelievable. It's ghastly what's happened out there and what's been allowed to happen. And I'm so glad that Mermaids are under the scrutiny now that they deserve. And I really hope that this charity commission, I really hope they lose the charity status. But if you're out there and you've had any experience with Mermaids clearly doing things that they shouldn't, please do get in touch. My DMs are open on Twitter and GETTR. Get in touch with me, because we would like to expose that, or get in touch with the Daily Mail, Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Telegraph. Who's the other one? The Times. Those three are taking the stories quite regularly on Mermaids. You can also report it to the Charities Commission if it's serious. You can also report it to the police. But do DM me? I'll expose it. I will tell you where to send it. Definitely don't keep it to yourself, because this charity really needs to be shut down. I think there's only one way of dealing with Mermaids. That's to be shut down. The more I research Mermaids, and the more I research Susie Green, the more I realize that they are pushing children into medication, preparing them for surgery, and they're also doing it behind parents' back. They seem to have an obsession that they want to do all this behind the child's parents' back. It's very, very worrying what Mermaids have been doing and what they haven't. Now, Mermaids have closed their helpline and web chat, I understand, until next week. And they've tweeted out the following. I will read this tweet. They say, due to intolerable abuse, we've made the decision to close the helpline and web chat service for the rest of today and tomorrow, which was that was on the 6th of October. So I'm presuming that services won't be up until Monday. This to enable us to take all volunteers off the rota, we will reduce hours to 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. only, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then it says, we do not make the decision lightly, but our duty of care towards staff and volunteers necessitates a harm reduction approach to protect our dedication staff and volunteers team. We hope to be able to resume normal working hours as soon as possible. I really hope you don't. Really hope that they don't resume their services. And I question the intolerable abuse as well. It's very easy to say that they've received intolerable abuse. I don't believe it. I think they're making it up. I think the fact is that they've shut it down because they're very, very concerned about what's gone out in the press. They're very concerned about the Charities Commission investigation. They're very concerned about the paedophile apologist that's come to light, who's been serving on their board of of trustees, and I think it may very well be that people have been contacting them, who've been using their services, that are expressing concern. I don't believe for 1 minute that it's intolerable abuse. Amy says that you have emailed me the link, so let me go into my. I'll go into my email and I'll have a look at that. Yeah, so apparently Mermaid services, well, I mean, I'm not, I hope they don't start their services next week, to be quite honest. I think there's going to be a lot of basically disruption to Mermaid services, because I think eventually it will closed down. Yes, right. So I hope this doesn't cut off, because last time I did this, the actual YouTube cut off. So if the live stream cuts off, it cuts off. But yeah, so this is his review of his book. I mean, it's yeah, I will have a look at this, Amy, actually, because I'll have a look at what else he's done and see if I can bring it out in future streams. Yeah, so I'll see if I can do that. But I'll carry on. I'll carry on with this. But I'll have a read of it and see what I can pull out of it, and see if I can expose Mermaids' disgraceful, you know, any more disgrace from Mermaids, and I'll see if I can do that. I think as well, moving back onto this, I think that Mermaids, as I've said, are clearly harassing LGB Alliance. I've said this from the beginning, and I think whilst the Charities Commission are investigating Mermaids, okay, I think that they should investigate this. I think that you know, either now or maybe when this stupid silly legal position is over. But I think the Charities Commission need to investigate, because this to me looks like harassment. Do you know what I mean? It really looks like harassment. It's just not on. It's they're disrupting a charity. They're costing a charity £250,000. So LGB Alliance is trying to raise £250,000 to simply, you know, it's a complete waste of time, because, like I've said, you know, Mermaids haven't got a cat in hell's chance of winning. They're going to lose. All they're doing is disrupting this charity. And I wonder whether Mermaids thought, oh, well, LGB Alliance won't fight, let's just pursue it. But instead, okay, LGB Alliance thought, no, we're not. Why should we lose our charity status? So all this is wasting of time. So I think this is something that I'm going to bring up with the Charities Commission, and I think I'll do it when LGB Alliance walk out and they win. And I think that's going to be another big disappointment for Mermaids and all the rest of the ilk that are harassing LGB Alliance right now. I think that's it. And if you do want to support LGB Alliance, I've put the link in the information this time. Please share the link, please subscribe. Right, so we've got so we've got Mermaids have now got another trustee of the charity under the spotlight, which is just recently broke in the news. So an NHS paediatrician and trustee of the controversial and crisis kids charity Mermaids has publicly come out and said now that biological sex is a concept. Of course, this is all nonsense and this is stupid, and this is very worrying for a person like this to be working for the NHS, but it's deeply worrying for a person like this to be working for a charity. So Dr. Katie McDowell, who works at King's College Hospital, remind me never to go to that hospital, in London, she complained that everybody is obsessed with genitals when defining sex. What do you guys think out there? I mean, to me, this doctor's a lunatic. He's an idiot. Do you know what I mean? A complete idiot. I mean, biological sex is biological sex. Of course, people are obsessed with genitals. Humans are naturally produced through sexual reproduction. It's in our DNA. You know what I mean? I really do worry about some of these doctors. Like I say, I'm not a fan of going to hospital. I'm not a fan of doctors. I hate it. You know what I mean? And this isn't really making my not phobia, but it's not making my uncomfortableness for the NHS any better when doctors come out with nonsense like this. But this has also come to light from another. These are the sort of people that are trustees now, you know, on Mermaids. It's deeply concerning what yeah, it's deeply concerning what these doctors are doing, but it's deeply concerning that they're actually on the board of trustees on Mermaids. It doesn't surprise me, and I'd like to know who the other people are on Mermaids and what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Are they idiots like this as well? It's just another scandal inside Mermaids, really. That's where this is leading to, because I think, you know, this won't only be it, but I think this Charities Commission investigation, if this starts getting into full force, and you know, this could bring them down. This could end Mermaids, and if this doesn't, then you know, other things could. Well, I mean, for many of us, we hope so. We hope it will end mermaids, but it shouldn't. It should. I mean, you know, from the research that I'm doing, there's a lot out there that should inevitably end mermaids. So again, if you can support LGB Alliance either by donation or share their crowdfunder, please do. The information is below. So you know they're very clearly out of order. Now this has catapulted them into the spotlight, and this may very well finish this ghastly charity off as well for what they've done to LGB Alliance. You know, it's brought everything out into the spotlight about them, and now they're in the spotlight. You know, I think Mermaids really thought that when they were going to take LGB, I don't think that they actually thought that Mermaids would the LGB Alliance would fight back. So when Mermaids were attacked LGB Alliance with legal proceedings, I don't think that they thought that this great charity LGB Alliance would fight back, and I don't think they were expecting that they were going to be in the spotlight. And I think they were expecting really LGB Alliance to sort of be in the spotlight, to be in the newspapers, but it didn't happen. It's Mermaids that are in the spotlight. It's Mermaids that are in the papers. I'm just going to have a... And as we all know, it's not before time. Yeah, so... yeah, but let's also not forget that the celebrity supporters of this crisis hit Mermaids gave it the unprecedented influence that it should never have had. So, you know, I'm not thanking these celebrities. I mean, this is, you know, appalling. Yeah, it's absolutely appalling. Yeah, I do get that, Amy. Yes, you said you mean flaws. Yeah, that's fine. I will look at that link at a later. I'm not going to go through it now, but I will look through it and I'll see if I can pull anything off for another stream, and we'll, you know, we might be able to expose more things. But I mean, I did read about his book, and his book really is absolutely... It's I mean, I don't know why they're allowing people to actually publish this crap, let alone work for a charity, a children's charity. It's appalling, but it is really appalling. So if you are one of these celebrities that is still supporting this crisis hit charity Mermaids, it's time you really considered not supporting them. You know, I mean, if that's the reason Mermaids have got where they are. Celebrities have jumped on them and supported them and given them the unprecedented influence that really many of us wish they never had. You know, so it's appalling. Now, J.K. Rowling tweeted out recently that we've now learned that Mermaids appointed a paedophile apologist as trustee, and that their online moderator encouraged kids to move onto a platform notorious for sexual exploitation. This is a charity that achieved unprecedented influence in the UK. Yeah. They couldn't have achieved it without the money and public support of certain corporations and celebrities who eagerly boosted them, even though the red flags had been there for years. Mermaids' fingers were all over the Tavistock gender identity debacle, and it was, absolutely. They've been allowed into classrooms, trained police, and had unprecedented influence over health policy, even though, by their own admission, they aren't a medical charity. We've also found out they're sending devices to flatten breasts of underage girls without parents' consent. Yeah, thanks to J.K. Rowling, a hero really, who's been speaking out this, you know, speaking speaking out about mermaids for quite a long time, and trying to express, you know, what this, trying to bring out what gender ideology theory, you know, the dangers, the dangers really of gender identity theory. It's just unbelievable, really. But you know, J.K. Rowling's been out there, you know, supporting women. She's been speaking up for women's rights, been speaking up for child safeguarding. A hero, you know, a great British icon, a great British hero, that, you know, will go down as a hero. it's unbelievable. But again, if you have got any scandal on mermaids, do get in touch. My DMs are open on Twitter and GETTR, so please contact me, or you can leave information below. I was just going to say the last thing that I got was regard to this. It's now a new development that I've seen on another, nail in the coffin for mermaids, really. So the NHS are advising staff, I know I mentioned it earlier, but they're advising staff not to signpost and remove all references in any support material with regards to the controversial trans charity Mermaids. Again, I'm not sure if it's all trusts or if it's just one trust, or whether it's going around different trusts. I don't know. But the NHS are definitely concerned. They're definitely worried about mermaids, and this is it's great that mermaids are finally being put on trial, really, if you like. They're finally in the spotlight, and I think this really serves them right for what they've done to LGB Alliance, but it really serves them right what they've been doing to children. It really serves them right what they've been doing to the parents of these children, because if children objected or expressed any concern about their child going through this puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and even surgery, they've been called, they've called them bigots, they've called them transphobic, they've called them they don't care. I mean, they really are a nasty little charity, Mermaid. So I'm really pleased that finally mermaids are now in the spotlight, being investigated, and being put under the scrutiny that they absolutely deserve. Well, that's all I've got time for. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. I'd like to thank everybody who watches these videos on other sites or watches these videos afterwards. Thank you, Amy, for joining me again on this cold October, freezing here, this cold October evening. And yeah, I'll be here again on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So please join me. So for now, it's goodbye, and I will see you on Wednesday.